What's up, people? I want to welcome y'all to another episode of The Tables Talk. Today, I've got a special guest all the way from San Antonio, a good friend of mine. I just met him, a while back? Actually, today. But I feel like I've known him forever. And this is a guy that's in the industry doing his thing. My boy, DJ Rohit Goswamy. What's up, man?
Going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Finally, we get to meet. We've been going back and forth on social media.
Yep.
I have been just eyeing you and just seeing what you've been doing. And for the longest time, I thought you were in Houston, Texas. But you live in San Antonio. And luckily, you drove in today. I know not for this, but you got a big trip and a big event coming up in India. Absolutely. But I finally get to get you in the studio and get to talk to you. So, hey, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about yourself. What kind of got you into DJing?
So I got into DJing from my uncle. So When I was 9-10 years old, he was always doing weddings, events. So I took an interest to it.
Okay.
So it was like, hey, take me with you. So I would see him go and do his things. And that was back in the days of using like CDJs. Like that was around the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't even CDJs. It was like those big flight consoles with
no, I had one.
with the slant top.
Yeah, so you had your mixer, then you had the actual
little jog wheels.
Yes, and then the CDJ was right under it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I would go to gigs with them, and then I think after like 4 or 5 events, it was like, hey, teach me.
Yeah.
And then he had like some old school, I think it was like CDJ 400s.
Okay.
And a Yamaha knob mixer. So it was all knobs.
Oh, wow. Rotary type things.
Yeah, all 100% rotary. So he's like, just start messing around with this. Here's a box of like CDs.
Yeah.
Just figure it out.
Okay.
So from there, I was like, I don't know how to use any of this.
What year you think? What year was this?
This was what? 2007, 8.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Because back then, 2007, 8, Serato was out, but it wasn't really out.
Back then, just to get a Serato add-on for what you had, even to use Scratch Live, it was like $400 or $500.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, we're not doing that.
No,
like,
exactly.
It was like, it's not worth it.
It took me all the way to maybe 2010 or 2012 to actually jump on it.
I got on Serato, I think, in 2018.
Wow. Yeah. See?
So I was a virtual DJ guy for like the longest time.
Wow. Yeah. So you basically were messing with these CDJs and just messing with regular CDs. So there was no waveforms or nothing.
Exactly.
It was just your ear. And
I remember my first gig. So my uncle and I went to go do a Sweet 16.
Okay.
And after once the dance floor started, he's like, hey, I got to run out to the car real quick. Here are the next 2 songs.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, sweet. And then he didn't come back for almost 45 minutes.
Okay.
So, and a little did I know, he was standing right behind me, just watching.
Man.
And I just did my thing for like the whole night. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you're ready?
Wow.
And then he just started booking me for like gigs until he left the industry, I think in 2012.
Okay.
And then just passed everything on to me.
Man. Okay. So you've kind of got thrown into it, basically.
Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah. That's the way to do it. I mean, you know what? Just luckily you had an uncle that was in the game to
he
give
didn't
you
help much.
He gave you the equipment and the music.
Yeah.
And said, you go for it now.
Yeah. And the rest was literally YouTube tutorials, trying to figure everything out. And I'm like, I'm way in over my head.
Dang. And so were these like Desi events or what?
All Desis. We had a couple of American ones. But it was like even trying to get like a song a request back then was such a pain because it was like promo only. We got a box of like 200 CDs and you got a big thick catalog where you would just hand to the client and say, hey, find the artist or find the track. And then if your CDs aren't organized, then trying to find that one disc took you forever.
I know. Yeah, and if it wasn't in the case itself,
you gotta tell the client, like, sorry,
yeah, I don't have it. I remember those days. I remember vinyl days, and I remember the CDJ days where you could either not have it in this place where you had it, or it was scratched.
Right. And God forbid it was scratched, because then you'd be halfway through a track and it just cuts out.
Yeah. and you're done. You're done. And then people just look at you and you're like, wait, it's not my fault. Yeah. It is my fault though.
It's like somebody scratched it. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
It probably was though, but somebody did it.
So going through that journey, what kind of then got you into, okay, before we even go into that, what were you listening to music wise back then?
Mostly Desi.
Okay.
So I didn't really get into American hip hop music till I want to say high school. So this was like, I graduated 2014. So we're talking like 2012, 2013 was when I started listening to non-Desi music.
Okay.
But like even now, if you go through my phone, it's all Desi music, Punjabi music, and it's not very much American music.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, good one. I mean, nowadays it's like, it's not even foreign, right? It doesn't feel foreign. It doesn't, like Punjabi music now, it's like another, just a nice, R&B or hip hop beat with the, good Punjabi vocals laced on top of it. And you're like, I can listen to this anywhere.
Exactly.
Right. And so, I can understand that now, but back then, I guess it was Desi. And then what drove you to hip hop and all that?
The clientele.
Okay.
So it was, I mean, as I was growing up, it was like, my high school's like, hey, we have a school dance coming up. You want to do it? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, absolutely. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know a lot of this music. So then it was like research, and then I started listening to it, and I started understanding it.
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, this is actually not that bad. Like early 2000s hip hop, like a lot of that stuff. Even now, that's always the go-to.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't go wrong with early 2000.
Not at all.
Anything 2000, it's just, it's great. And, especially nowadays when you're kind of, you've got a different audience.
Exactly.
You can never go wrong with that. I mean, when I start seeing your IG page and including your SoundCloud and all that good stuff, I started noticing that you're blending the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
And that's where I was like, all right, I need to meet this guy, man. We're on the same wavelength. I feel his mashups and his music and his selections. So I was like, get you in the studio. Let's talk. Let's get people to realize who Rohit Goswamy is.
Absolutely. Man.
So what kind of drove you to doing these mashups?
So it comes down to, again, so most of what I do is based off of my clientele.
Yeah.
So it was like, I think during my first fusion wedding back in, I think 2019.
Okay.
I had like this fusion wedding, and they're like, hey, we want Desi music, but not just Desi music. We want an equal amount of American music.
Yeah.
Where it's like hip hop, country. And then from there, it was like, okay, let me do like 2 Desi songs, 2 American songs. And then I just started doing one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Where you match the BPM, match the key, and it just flows.
Yeah.
Like it just flows. Like right when the lyrics of one song stops, you got the next track playing, and it's like a smooth mashup. And I'm like, if I started recording this stuff, like it would do well.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's sort of kind of like how my, I mean, that's how I always did my sets, anyways. But it was like that Bollywood style.
Yeah,
for those that are out there, go pick it up. So that's how I kind of came up with that feeling of, let's kind of get it out there more. I feel like for the longest time, before we kind of looked at India, right?
Yeah.
And India's remixes they're very EDM, which is great. And, because it works in the wedding scene. And I feel like they try to make new production out of it, which
Absolutely,
is, yeah. And I love all that. But man, we're from the US, we're hip hop.
Oh, 100%.
And, back in the 90s, the late 90s, like TS Sounds and all those guys, they made original mashups, right? Yeah. They made it. It was generally a Bollywood track on maybe a hip hop or a house track, but it was a real mashup back then. We didn't call it mashups then because we just said it's a remix.
Exactly.
But I feel like it's kind of coming back.
Oh yeah.
Right. And I feel like nowadays you want to hear your favorite Desi track on one of your favorite hip hop or even EDM tracks.
Oh yeah.
And not make it into a remix, but a mashup.
Yeah.
And I feel like that culture is coming back, and that's whenever I was like, you know what? Let me meet you because you're doing the same thing. You're focusing on the mashup aspect of it because it fits the dance floor.
But then even if you take a look at some of your mixes, right? Like I think you have a Juta Hai Japani mix with like a really cool hip hop beat. Like you're tying in old school Bollywood and making it modern. So now even playing it at an event, not only are you you're essentially catering to every single person in the room. Because now you have old style music mixed with the modern beat.
And that's exactly the formula, right? And that's what, when I'm making it, that's what I think about. Sometimes I'm like, well, if I'm gonna get a brand new track, what about an old school beat?
Exactly.
Type thing. So what drove you? Actually, not even drove you, but what got you into the actual technical? Let me make it on a computer and see if I can get it out. What made you go there, and what are you using?
So I use Ableton. So what really got me into it was my friends.
Okay.
So they would see me at gigs and like, yo, you need to like put this stuff out there. It's like if we're because my friends are the biggest critics. Like,
tell me about it, man.
And these are guys that don't listen to Punjabi music.
Okay.
So in a group like our small Desi group, I was the only Punjabi guy there.
Okay. All right.
So, and that's all I would listen to.
Yeah.
And then they would see me at gigs and they would see me kind of mix stuff up. And they're like, it's like, if you got us listening to this type of music, we like it, everyone else is really going to like it.
It's funny that you mentioned like the Punjabi music in itself. I remember back then, because it was traditional. So I didn't know much about Punjabi music, right? I'm Gujarati. So it was just like, all right, you had your 5 tracks, and no matter what, you can get away with a Gujarati crowd or a non-true Punjabi crowd.
Even now. It's the same thing. I had the same struggles.
So it is funny because back then, everybody would show me a new Punjabi track and I'd just be like, I'll just write it off because I'm like, no. I just need these 5.
Yeah.
That's it, right? And it was traditional. It was like, you had your dole and your tumbi, right? And maybe a backing beat. Now it has changed.
Oh, yeah.
Completely different. And you have now, I feel like in Punjabi music in general, you have moods, right? Yeah. And it's not just that happy, fun thing. You can get an R&B sad Punjabi track. You can get a happy R&B or a breakup song, and I'm assuming it probably was like that anyways back then, but I don't understand the language first of all.
But now it's out there more, and now more people are actually listening to it.
All right.
So even for a lot of like my hardcore Gujarati clients, and I'm going through like consultations and everything with them, they're like, "Hey, we love AP Tillo, and we love Shub." In the back of my mind, I'm like, I love you guys. I'm like, this is great. I'm like, this is fantastic. But like the whole crowd is just jamming onto it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's the mood that these artists are now setting, where they're not only catering just to a community, it's now catered to everybody.
Yeah, mainstream. They've taken it mainstream, and I'm glad because people like me, I mean, I like Punjabi music, but now I love it because there is something that fits every mood.
Exactly.
Sometimes you just want to be in a car and you just want to jam because you just had a bad day.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't understand the lyrics, but I know that feeling. Oh, yeah. I know what they're, where it's coming from.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's great that it's been taken there. I just feel like, I don't know where it's going to go in the future, but this is great now.
Yeah.
And I'm able to play more and more of it at a non-Punjabi event.
Oh yeah.
I remember like, so, we have mutual friends like BJ. We were talking a while back. We had like that meetup, the DJ meetup in Houston. I wish you were there.
Unfortunately, yes. I was driving back into town and I was like, oh, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah, it was funny. And we were talking about just the struggles of doing a Punjabi wedding. And I was like, man, nowadays, you don't have to just get stuck with one type of sound.
Exactly.
And he was like, yeah, it's gotten better for him.
It's gotten a lot better.
It's
now but like it still comes down to there's a time and place.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So like you could do a Punjabi wedding where most of the night you're playing like your old school tracks, like the golden era. but then the clients are like the bride and grooms now are getting younger and younger.
Correct. Yeah.
Where we're talking like 25, 26 years old, and they want the hip hop Punjabi music.
Yeah.
Where like we're talking like Sidhu, a lot of Diljit's like new stuff, whether it's like dance floor or if it's like a vibe. But like a lot of them want it for the whole night.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to drop that, hard, right?
Yeah, because it's like I got 300 people in a room, and they're looking at me like, "What's going on here?"
Oh man, tell me. Like I had a client. I mean, and it was funny because another mutual friend, Lakka.
Yeah.
We went to Cancun together because this client, amazing guy, love him. But he was like, "I want Sidhu Moosewala pretty much the whole night." Right? In the beginning, when we're doing the consult and all that. And I was like, my partner's Yogi. So I was like, Yogi, I don't know if I can do this wedding, man. This reception is going to be hard. He's marrying a Mexican girl.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm all that. I can do all that all day.
Yeah, same.
Right? It's there. And I was like, we got to get somebody. So we thought of Lakka. And I was talking to Lakka and I was like, okay, this is what he wants. First thing out of his mouth is, you're not going to play all that.
No.
That's what he wants, but you're not going to play it. Right. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you're not going to play it. Just we'll do it, but it's not going to happen. And I was like, okay. And then lo and behold, I mean, the client was cool because he was like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Because we kind of explained to him that, hey, we can't be playing 10 Sidhu tracks
back to back.
I can sprinkle it in, but it would have been easier if everybody's Punjabi. But I've got another set. I've got the Mexican side too. And he was cool. He's like, man, I get it. It's not danceable sometimes. And so I remember we threw in 2 or 3. Levels was one of them.
Yep.
And I think it was the last song and it just blew up the dance floor. He was happy.
Always.
But you're right. There's a time and a place.
Yeah, absolutely.
For that whole thing. So when did you start doing weddings itself?
I think my first wedding was when I was 12 years old. So
okay, DJing.
So what ended up happening was so my uncle had to go to India.
Okay.
So they had something going on there. So he went, and then he calls me, goes, "Hey, I totally forgot. I got this wedding in like 2 weeks."
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm 12, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't drive. I can't lift half this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, you figure all that out. I'm like, and I need somebody to like talk on a microphone.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a 12-year-old on the microphone at a wedding.
No way.
Trying to do intros.
Yeah, no way.
So he called one of his friends. He came and emceed, and then I just DJ'd. So we made him the overall face because we didn't want to scare like the bride and groom was like, I got a 12-year-old doing my wedding right now.
Yeah, yeah. So you're kind of like the background.
Yeah.
All right.
So he handled like all the consults and everything, and my job, and he handled everything. Once the dance floor started, that's as soon as I just jumped in.
Wow. So were you behind the decks during that time, or only when the dance floor started?
Only when the dance floor started. We did not want to give this bride and groom any chance to worry because if anything during the formalities got messed up and I was back there,
it's easier to blame.
It's on me.
Yeah, of course.
But during the dance floor, it's more forgiving.
Yeah. So 12 years old, what were you dropping, man? What were you playing?
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember. Definitely Punjabi MC.
Yeah.
Some Sukhbir. Some old school Bin Rakhia.
Yeah. Wow. What? You knew all this stuff.
Yeah. So it was a lot of research.
Yeah.
A lot of research because by that time it was, even though we couldn't afford the fancy Serato box and everything. So I started Googling and it's like, what can I make my laptop work with what I have now without spending $500?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we found like a Scratch Live box knockoff. It was called the Maya 44 USB.
What?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of it.
I still have it. It's still in the basement with all the old gear. And it worked just like a Scratch Live box, but you can't use it for Scratch Live.
Okay.
So we used it for Virtual DJ.
Wow. And so you had what, 2 CD players or CDJs or CD players?
CD players.
That are going into this box.
Yep.
USBing to the computer, just so you can play off the computer.
Yep, and you could use a Serato timecode CD.
Oh, you could? Okay.
Yeah, so it was the exact same timecode thing. It was just the box was different.
Wow.
And it was like $50-$60. I'm like, that I can buy.
Yeah, yeah.
And we bought that, and then that's kind of where we got into laptop DJing.
Okay.
Where it's, okay, Wi-Fi is not the best anywhere that we're going around that time.
Especially, exactly, yeah. Still to this day,
exactly.
it's not consistent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then it came down to, they would give me a list. I would still take all the CDs with me. Mm-hmm. So we would have 2 tables, one with like our stuff, the microphones and everything, and then a table behind us that had like 6 boxes of CDs, like 200 CDs a box.
Yeah, yeah.
And the goal was get through a gig, make sure everything goes perfectly without touching a single CD.
Yep, but you had backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then by the time that we all got used to it, it was take the CDs with us, but leave it in the car.
See, yeah.
Don't bring them in. And then we'd like get to the point where we're just not bringing them at all.
Wow. And that was roughly around what time, what year you think you felt confident enough to where I don't need CDs anymore?
I think 2013.
2013. Okay.
Yeah, 2013. And then I think 2014 is when I bought my first controller. It was the DJ SR.
The SR. You bought the SR. Okay.
Yeah. So I had the SR. Then from the SR, I went to the SX.
Yeah.
And the SX was my baby.
Yeah.
Up until 2017.
Wow. Yeah, because I ended up getting the SX, and everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody was like, "You're gonna regret it because it's just one box. That whole thing goes wrong, you're done." Because back then we would bring 2 techniques. Yep. And a mixer.
Exactly.
And just lug it around like I had all the time in the world and all the muscle to do it and not going to worry about my back. And so when I bought the SX, everybody was like, that's the biggest mistake. And once it breaks, you're done. And they were right. They were right. But that thing is a tank.
It actually happened to me once.
Okay.
So I'm doing a wedding, and so my uncle and I both had a gig on the same day.
Okay.
And I was already at that point where I had better gear than him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's like, "Hey, I'm taking like the powered speakers and everything. Mm-hmm. You take all the passive stuff."
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So I do this gig. I got this crazy light tree set up behind me that I had like T-bars. I'm clamping everything on.
Yeah.
And mid dance floor, because this was like I couldn't afford a nice laptop. I had a $100 HP computer that was like 3 inches thick.
Yeah, yeah.
And my laptop decided, hey, I don't want to work today.
Yeah.
Or you can't play 2 tracks right now.
Yeah.
So aux cable, and then I brought 1 CDJ with me.
Okay.
Like a 400. Wired that into
the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just into the board. So I ran 1 RCA into the board, the other RCA into my amplifier. So if the board goes out,
you still have something going.
I still have something going.
Yeah, directly in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like the most scary situation.
Because back then we really didn't bring a separate mixer.
Exactly.
Your board was your full-on mixer.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
I'm sitting there freaking out. I looked at my dad because I can't drive, so my dad drove me there.
Yeah.
I looked at him like, "Hey, I need a laptop like right now."
Yeah.
He's like, "Where do you want me to go?" I'm like, "I don't care where, just go find me one."
Yeah. Yeah.
Luckily, he had his work laptop with him.
So this is a time where you still couldn't drive?
No.
Or
I didn't get my license till 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, so 2014, I had just turned 18.
So you had your dad taking you to gigs.
Yeah.
Bro, that's some real deal, man.
He still goes with me now.
That's awesome. No, that's what's awesome is your dad supporting you.
Absolutely.
With that, and man, taking you to your gigs, is a big deal.
Yeah. Even now, like it was a really big like stereotype thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you should go into medicine. You should do this. Mm-hmm. Like this is not going to take you anywhere. Like I moved to Texas in 2020.
Okay.
With the goals of going to med school.
Yeah.
So I'm actually graduating this semester. I'm taking the MCATs later this year.
Congrats, man.
So hopefully I get in.
Yeah.
But I mean, the 4 years I've been here, I mean, I'm paying all my bills, everything just off of DJing.
See?
Like, it's doing well.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because, especially back then, it was looked down upon, right? The whole industry was like, oh, this is not a moneymaker, or it's not a real career, And it may not be a career for everyone. And some people can do it part-time, which is awesome. Yeah. But it's passion, right?
I enjoy it.
Most of the time, we don't do this for the money. The money's there. It's great. It shows up.
Absolutely.
But we don't do it for the money. Yeah. We do it because we love music so much.
I've always told myself, the day this is not fun anymore, is the day I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
And so not only my uncle, so when he stopped, so in my family, we actually have 15, 20 different DJs in the family.
Okay.
So all uncles and everything. So they all gave me like a piece of advice. And like now they see me now. It's like, where are you off to next?
Yeah.
I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to Italy. I'm going here. I'm going there.
Because we didn't travel that much back then.
Yeah.
You were in your local area, and that was it.
I was lucky to go from PA to Jersey to go do a gig. It's like a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
And even then, like, that was a big deal back then.
Yep. Yeah.
Now it's like, I mean, I live in San Antonio. Me coming here, it's a 3-hour drive just to enter Houston.
Yeah.
And now it's like I'm driving out here almost every weekend. I'm not doing many gigs in Texas. I'm out of country, I'm out of state, and surrounding yourself with like-minded people, just makes all the difference.
Yeah, no, for sure. So now that you were talking about traveling, I know you're here because you're going to India.
Yeah.
You have a gig in India.
I do.
That's awesome. I have yet to have played in India for a gig.
This would be my second one.
Really? Yeah. Tell us about this gig. This is awesome.
So this is my partner Tej. He also lives in San Antonio. It's his brother-in-law's sister's wedding.
Awesome. Okay.
So last year when I went back to Philly, so their family lives in Delaware.
Okay.
About a good 45-minute drive away. So Tej calls me and he's like, hey, I have like a family event going on the East Coast. I'm booked. Can you do this for me?
Yeah.
No questions asked. I'm there.
Yeah.
First weekend home.
Yeah.
Like it was one of their like cousin sisters' reception on day one. And day two was this other sister's engagement party.
Yeah.
So it's just me. Had a great time. And then I wasn't even planning on like going.
Okay.
So Tej calls me up a few months ago and he goes, hey, you want to go to India?
Yeah.
I'm like, not really. I can't afford to go to India.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm too busy.
Yep.
And then he's like, okay. And then maybe 25 minutes later, the bride calls me.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're coming to my wedding. I'm like, I can't. She goes, no. You're going to be at my wedding. You did the engagement.
Yeah.
And I want both of my brothers there. And you're both going to do the party. You guys are going to come, have a good time.
Yeah. So
I'm like, all right, let me go book a flight.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is happening. This is definitely happening.
That is awesome, So yeah, I guess I've only seen, but I hear that it gets ridiculous. I mean, like the sound, the lighting, and
I
it's
did
like
an event in Hyderabad 2 years ago.
Okay.
So it was a Muslim wedding in Hyderabad. So these guys saw me at another event. The groom reaches out to me via Instagram.
Yeah.
And is like, hey, I'm getting married. I'm doing it in India. What do you need?
Yeah.
So we went through the whole consultation process, pricing, everything. So I got there and it was maybe 300-400 people.
Yeah.
But like the production that they had there.
Yeah.
And when I mean, like, we're talking like concert style. We're talking like maybe like 6 dual 18 subs, 10 liner rate tops. I'm like, we do this for like 3,000-4,000 people. You guys are doing this for like 400. Like, are you guys crazy?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, this is standard here. I'm like, what do you mean this is standard? I got to pay like crazy to get this here.
It's funny that you mentioned that. So like I had Spin Doctor a while back on this show. And he was telling me, he's like, hey man, this is the US. Why is it hard for me to get turntables at my gigs? And I was like, man, I was like, it's funny because whatever promoters that have brought you down, I mean, they're just going to use what they have.
A lot of them also love CDJs.
Yeah.
DJM 900. I work with I work with a DJ Shadow from Dubai.
Bye. Yeah.
So I'm usually his main go-to guy in the States.
You see, yeah.
So any event that he does here, so just for him, I had to go out and go buy, like I just picked up a pair of CDJ 3000s and a DJM 900 Nexus 2 for him.
Yeah.
Because he's planning another trip here.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I need to have these because the one gig I did for him, he wanted 2000 Nexus 2s.
Yeah.
I gave him 2000 Nexuses.
Okay.
So not even a 2. The only difference is you get one more hot queue.
Yeah.
And
but he's used to doing his thing. So it's like he needs that. Yeah.
And he's like, I need this. He's like, I don't care what you have to do.
Yeah.
Find them.
Yeah.
And this was in Maryland. Wow. And I'm calling everybody. I'm like, who has CDJ Nexus 2s?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a single person. I had to go to Guitar Center and they had to have it overnight shipped to the store for me to pick it up the next day.
That's just, yeah. And then same thing. So he couldn't get turntables at his gigs. And he's like, yeah, I can do stuff on CDJs, but turntables is where it's at.
Yeah.
But he was like, in India, I just got to say it and it shows up.
And it's there.
And I'm thinking to myself, in India, there's turntables, like that many turntables. He's like, India has everything. And he goes, production wise, what I see here and what I see in India, it's like day and night. And you just confirmed it.
And it's even, so same story, but backwards. So I'm going to India.
Yeah.
I asked for a DDJ SZ2.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we don't have controllers here.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, can you guys get me an S9, S11? They're like, we don't have that either. It's only CDJs and a DJM 900.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out now.
Yeah.
Because I love my pads.
Yeah. Yeah. These things, I mean, they are easier to use and they're fun compared to having the club style where it's on the side.
And it's not even that stems. Stems is a really big part of my daily workflow.
Same with me, man. That's where it's at.
Like, I don't know how people did this without stems.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we EQ'd it, but it wasn't the same.
Exactly.
And I don't see why there's DJs right now not using stems. You got to be using stems.
Absolutely.
All right. Serato has the amazing sounding stems. If you have Serato, you're on it. Just start messing with it. You're going to open up a whole new world.
I started using stems right when they released beta 1 of Serato 3.0.
Yeah.
Like, it was only for beta testers. I don't know what website, what torrent, what form I went to find the beta version, but I got it.
Bro, I'll give you a story. So before stems, I went down this whole path. I was getting bored, right? I was getting bored of the new hip hop. I was getting bored of everything sound wise. So I went down the whole tech house realm.
Okay.
Because I was just bored with hip hop and just mixing in general, just in and out. I didn't want to do it anymore. I wanted to have longer mixes and be able to echo, reverb, and do some things like that. Yogi goes, "Hey man, you need to start messing with stems." And I was like, "Whatever, man. I'm over it. I'm going down this route." I was gonna actually switch over to record box too.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that you could use these pads and put loops in it. You can do everything you wanted. I was just about to switch, and he's like, "You got to look at stems. Just look at stems." Looked at stems, just chunked the whole idea that way, and just came right back, and that whole creativity showed up, and that's where that whole mashup for me started happening. I was like, "Oh man," because before, to find for those that don't know what stems are, stems basically take your instrumental. The track itself and divided into two, right? An instrumental and the acapella. Sometimes it does a good job, sometimes it doesn't, right? Okay. I would, on production wise, I would take it and put it in that RX plugin.
The RX9?
Yeah. And then do it that way. And it was a mess sometimes.
Yeah.
But when Serato, like you said, came out with it where you could do it on the fly, man, game changer. I was like, I'm back. Now I can do things that I always wanted to do. It's like now I gotta rein it in and not get too crazy because technically it's like you gotta I like to stick with 4 or 5 things. That's it.
Creativity now is through the roof.
Yes. Desi DJs out there, get on stems. You gotta get on stems. If you're not, just listen to me. You're not doing yourself justice.
Exactly.
For sure,
it is a game changer. Just doing mashups on the fly.
Yeah.
It's like on the fly where you got 2 tracks lined up and you got the acapella of the next track coming in on cue. And then you can just fade out of like the instrumental of one and just swap instrumentals.
Yeah.
On the fly. Yeah. And it's like, and it turns heads.
It turns heads. Yeah.
It turns a lot of heads.
It makes people go, oh, wait, that sounded good.
Yeah.
You know, compared to where, it's just another mix.
Exactly.
You know, and most of us nowadays, anybody can mix.
Yeah.
But taking it to that creativity level, that next level is like, yes, we can do that. And that's what sets you apart from the other guy, the other DJ. You know, sorry. So I didn't mean to go off on a realm, but stems is where it's at.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't imagine DJing without it anymore. It's like, I need it.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because now we're looking at products, boards, DJ mixers that have it. And like you said, like the mixers in India, they're, you know, like that's an amazing board, right? That Pioneer board, but you have nowhere to do any cue points.
Exactly.
You have nowhere to just sit there and knock out stems unless you want to go into your computer and manually press it.
Manually.
Yeah, which I don't want to be in my computer.
No.
I want to be here.
Exactly.
You know?
It's the same thing. Like even if you look at the Rane 4.
Yeah.
The Rane 4 mixer is probably like my main go-to.
I love the Rane 4 because of the fact that you just have to hit a button. Now you have it on 3 and 4, 1 and 2. Right?
Exactly. So it was the whole stem split thing.
Yeah.
Is what sold me on it because now I got faders for the instrumental and the acapella, and now I can EQ it on the fly.
Yeah.
I can EQ just the acapella and I can clean that up. Same with the instrumental.
Yeah.
And then during a gig, it's just a flop down 2 faders and the whole vibe of the track changed. Like the acapella is the same.
Yeah.
But the instrumental itself will change the vibe. Like if you're going from like a chill vibe and you want people to start dancing, just change the beat.
Have you seen that leaked footage of the Avella brothers with the Rane 4 moving platters?
Yes.
I'm intrigued about that.
I'm waiting. So a buddy of mine works for Rane.
Okay.
So
I know he's keeping his mouth shut, isn't he?
So he can't tell me much, but he's like, May
is something.
May
announcement maybe
is the announcement.
I sold my Rane 4. The main reason why I sold my Rane 4 was the reverb wasn't as strong as I hoped. I'm a reverb guy. I love reverb on everything.
Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't as strong, or maybe I wasn't doing it right. So that's the only reason why I got rid of it. But I loved the setup, the way it was perfectly set up. I have the Flex 10, which is great. But my only issue with the Flex 10 is I can't split it with on two faders. Splits, next to each other. It has to be 1 and 4.
Yeah.
And 2 and 3, which is the dumbest thing ever.
Exactly.
And you can do it on Record Box, but you can't do it on Serato. Now, if this thing comes out, and I'm a gearhead,
same.
So I lose all my money to gear. You know,
same. You can ask anybody. I know almost everything about gear.
Yeah,
I'm on top of it.
Yeah, and so if this thing comes out with moving platters,
it's gonna be the move.
It's just gonna be.
I'm waiting for it to drop the day pre-orders open. I'm gonna get one.
Yeah, you know why not? We have fun with it. I'm just trying to justify it on air, but we have fun with it. Why not get it?
Exactly.
Right. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. So basically it's a Rane 4. Maybe I'll put it up over here, like on this side somewhere. You can kind of see it's a Rane 4 with moving platters.
So it's the Rane 4 with moving platters with the Rev 7 screen.
Yes. Yeah. It's not the old school where it has,
no. So it's essentially take a Rev 7 platter.
Yeah.
And put that on the Rane 4. And that's basically what it's going to be.
See, but 4 channels. Yeah.
But they're updating the power.
Okay.
And they're going to update your.
So the power, because the Rev 7 power, it was the Rev 7. Did you talk about the turntable itself?
So the turntable itself, so it's going to be a stronger motor.
Okay. And I like that.
But even to power the board. So everything's now going USB-C.
Yeah, yeah.
So take a look at the Rev 5 now.
Yeah.
To power the Rev 5, I can use a MacBook charger.
Yeah.
And it powers it up just fine. Just to connect the laptop, it's a USB-C to a USB-C cable.
Got you. Okay.
And that's what I think Rane is going to be doing with the new controller as well.
Okay.
And it's so much easier. Like, yeah, we all have IEC cables.
Yeah.
But I don't travel with them in my book bag.
Yeah.
But my book bag has maybe 8-9 different USB-C cables because everything is now USB-C.
Yeah, man. Okay. I'm excited. Let's see,
I'm ready for it.
Yeah. This spends more money, right?
Unfortunately. Gotta do it.
Yeah. So that's a controller that I'm looking forward to. I love my Flex 10. I love it. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I wish they were next to each other.
Yeah.
That's pretty much.
I'm not a fan because of how you got to switch two stems.
Yes.
So I do the pad modes, and on just about anything, I can click on loop roll, and my stems come up.
Yeah.
On the Flex 10, you got to hit shift and then loop pad 3, and then I get the pad mode up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that if I can figure out how to make it where I don't got to hit shift, I'd be okay with using one.
So what do you think about the whole, since we're kind of going that whole technical route, what do you think about the whole Pioneer buying out Serato DJ? And do you see, that was another reason why I kind of also got rid of my Rane, I was like, man, they're fighting, right? Yeah. And if they're fighting, what's the future of Rane with Serato DJ?
It's going to be interesting. So, I mean, talks are that maybe over the next 5 years, Serato's going to start getting phased out. Even though Serato, so it's going to be a battle of the softwares.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to what is Pioneer going to profit more off of, even though Pioneer is primarily record box, but how many DJs use Serato compared to record box? I can go up to any DJ and be like, yo, you use a Serato? He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 in 20 we'll say virtual DJ or maybe record box.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe record box might get phased out, or maybe they might take record box and Serato and make a new program where it's the best of both worlds. Even with a virtual DJ.
Yeah.
I can theme virtual DJ to look just like Serato.
Yeah.
And no one's is going to know it all.
Yeah.
So if they could make a new program where you combine Serato and record box into one,
I think, yeah. I mean,
that's a real possibility.
I mean, they kind of, had that whole Alpha Theta line, and they still have, in the beginning when he announced it, I assumed that they're changing the name.
Yeah.
But eventually you kind of figured out after the dust hit the fan, is everything kind of settled down. And you're like, oh, okay, you have Alpha Theta line and you still have your Pioneer DJ line.
Yep.
And so it's interesting to see what they're going to do with it. And so, yeah, that was my two reasons why I got rid of the Rane 4. I was like, okay, I need to get out of Rane. But I love Rane's actual build quality.
Same.
And not having to carry the little box to power it.
Yeah, and Rane has a pretty solid sound card.
Yeah.
Compared to, my Rane 4 sounds better than my SZ2.
Yeah.
Because the way Rane does their outputs, they're gold-plated outputs, and it's a stronger sound card.
Yeah.
But where they lack a little bit is now your mics are running hotter as well.
Correct.
So you got to so if you're running a mic through the Rane 4 or through a Rane 72 even, you have to dial it in, or you have to get an actuator to drop the decibel level, or else you're going to feedback like crazy.
Yeah, yeah. And that's where that little side mixer comes in handy.
Yeah.
Because it's
always.
Don't run your mics in that. Just run your mics on that side mixer.
Run my mics off of an iPad.
Yeah, right? Man.
You get technical out here.
Exactly. I think we just lost a lot of listeners because we went technical. But hey, this is the Tables Talk. We talk about everything. We go through the whole thing. Yeah. And so for you, what do you see yourself doing music wise in the next 5 years?
It's a loaded question.
It is.
Yeah. I think I want to focus on more destination stuff, but on the event aspect. But as far as music goes, I want to focus on putting out my own stuff.
Okay.
So I can't sing.
Yeah.
But
you and me both.
But I could make a pretty decent beat.
There you go.
And then start sending those out, and then having people make their own tracks over it.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to get into more original stuff.
What type of genre, or pretty much?
Anything.
Nice.
Anything.
Okay.
I want to dabble in. because I don't know where my strong suit is.
Yeah.
So I want to dabble in the Desi era. I want to dabble in like Spanish music. I want to dabble in like American music, even a country music.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to dabble in like a little bit of like everything and kind of figure out what gets the best response or what do I feel more comfortable doing. And then just kind of build off of that.
Man. So a few more questions because I know time is of the essence. My other question to you was if somebody that didn't know you but has heard of you and asked what can they expect from a DJ Rohit Goswamy set, what would you tell them?
A little bit of everything.
Okay.
So it comes down to, it's like my first question to all my clients are, what do you like to hear?
Yeah.
And then we take that. And so like I tell them like, okay, you guys like old school hip hop, you guys love country, you guys maybe want like some Spanish music. I'm like, what if I told you I can give you all of that without skipping a beat and you won't even hear the change?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I give to my clients.
Nice.
Where I can play one track that I made a mashup on where it has, or I could even do it live.
Yeah.
Where it has a little bit of everything, but not only is the client happy, because take some fusion weddings.
Yeah.
Where if you got a Desi and like an American getting married, when you're playing Desi music, a lot of the Americans aren't dancing.
Yeah.
And the same thing vice versa. But the way I counteract that is where I'll take a Desi beat and I'll put American lyrics on it.
Yeah.
And then I'll just flip it. Because now you keep everyone happy.
Yeah.
And my goal is maximum engagement.
100%, man. Yeah. Man, I want to thank you for taking the time
absolutely
out of your schedule, because I know you're fixing to fly out this evening.
Yeah.
And you were telling me this, like your family doesn't know you're coming.
No, so I'm flying into Bombay. So my daddy lives there. I've not seen her face to face in almost 8 years.
Wow.
So I talk to her all the time.
Okay.
And so she has no idea. I spoke to her like last week. She's like, any plans of like coming to India anytime soon? I'm like, not this year.
Yeah.
I'm thinking 2025. I'm gonna end up booking some stuff out there.
Yeah.
And I'll come out. She's like, okay. But then once I land, I'm just gonna go knock at the door, be like, surprise.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the goal's gonna be to scare her.
That's awesome. She's gonna probably be like just loving it that
absolutely.
You're there.
I'm super happy.
Yeah, man. I hope you have a great trip and enjoy India. And then when you come back, we'll try to get you on our show, our radio show, GenerAsian Radio.
Okay.
This is where we kind of, what we do is we kind of, we're on an FM dial, but we play world music. Okay. It's, we have a 2 hour show, but we do an hour. We give another hour to Thomas Blondet, who's from up north, from Washington, D.C. So he does a whole house circuit. And we just play everything. And then so we'd be great to get you over here, get on the show, jump on the decks.
Absolutely, I'm down.
Have some fun. So for those out there, where can they hit you up at? What's your SoundCloud? What's your IG?
So my Instagram is at DJ Rohit Goswamy.
I'll put it up here.
SoundCloud is DJ Rohit DBI.
Nice. Okay.
And those are probably the two best places.
Got you. Yeah. So hit up my boy. I want to thank you for coming.
Absolutely, man.
This is The Tables Talk. Next episode. See you then.